This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are, September the 27th, 2022. And it's 8:30 my time. I just got off of work after an all-night schedule at the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was so cool. Not only did I have a good work night, but I got to get off work and now I get to talk to a filmmaker that I have a lot of respect for because he's daring, he's cool. And the first two times I talked to him, he was in Vancouver. Now he's in Germany. Folks, I give you the awesome Uwe Boll. How do you do? Is it Uwe? I can't pronounce that right?
You did it perfect.
Okay. I
So
always
yeah,
wonder about that. I got to put my phone in flight because if I don't, people might be calling me
good
up and
morning.
yeah.
Good morning for you. Good lunchtime for me. So it's
Yeah.
1:30 here, 6 hours away, and it gets a little colder now. We had a very hot summer in Germany, and now yeah, we have like 15 Celsius still. So is it getting colder in your region now too already?
Yeah. Actually, you're 5 hours ahead of me. I'm in Atlantic Canada.
Okay, five
Yep.
hours. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. But nonetheless, I had to look that up as like the time zone for Germany, you know. When did you move back there? Because I know when I called you during the pandemic to see how you were, and you were still in Vancouver then. So
Yeah. No, we didn't give Vancouver in a way totally up or something. We still have our house there,
hmm
and my son goes to school there, and the daughter from my wife goes to school there, and our youngest kid goes to school here. And but I went to Germany like 2 years ago, a little more as normal, to also like check out here the production possibilities. So we're working on some projects here, and let's say it this way, it's a little easier for me to get like Amazon, Netflix, or whatever excited here with the local offices,
yep.
because they're producing a lot of local product, like regional or national product, as to convince like Netflix in US to give me a show. So, and that is also why I went back to movie making after 2016. I basically said, I'm a little like, I don't see a future because there was no more Blockbuster, no more DVD and Blu-ray sales. Or I mean, they're still there, but 5% of what they were. So, and so I felt like movies don't make sense anymore. But then there's streamers coming everywhere,
Yep.
and so I went back, and I hope next year I can make another real film, like a real international film.
You know, I've always said, now I'll I haven't seen Alone in the Dark or House of the Devil, you know. I know they get a lot of bad reviews. I haven't seen those.
Good.
Something like Postal and Blubberella, they're up my alley because there's a lot of satire in with, I love this film, Postal, by the way, celebrating its 15th anniversary.
Yeah.
I think this is your best achievement, but I'm going to tell you, I don't like bullying, and I hate it when people were like petitioning to get you to stop directing and whatnot. It's like if you don't like Uwe Boll's movies, don't watch them, you know.
Exactly.
But instead, they're like they just can't leave well alone, and they just
Yeah.
it's like bullying, and I never liked that. And quite frankly, I think this shows some terrific filmmaking. Postal does, you know. My brother loves it too. You know, I thought this was brilliant, and I've interviewed, I'd say, a good 5 or 6 people from this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, yep.
Zach
So
Ward, also Zach, like the lead actor.
I've had Zach Ward on twice.
Yeah.
I've had Jackie Tone on once.
Cool.
I had oh I'm trying to think of his name. He was in Jason Takes Manhattan. He was one of the gangsters in that, and he plays one of the I believe he plays one of the terrorist types in this.
Okay. Or Michael Benya.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Michael
it.
Benya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. I had him on. I had Lindsay Hollister on twice. We also talked about Blubberella, and she's a delight. And I must have had another. Oh, you're five. I must have had another. I know. I'm pretty sure I had six
I can
on
hook you up
here.
with Michaela Mann. She's still a good friend of mine. She's one of the Postal girls, like the if you ever want to interview her, and
Yes.
she would do that. And because she was in a few of my films, right? She was in A Sound on Wall Street. She was in um, Heart of America, uh,
Uh-huh.
and I think in Blood Rain 2. So and she's a good friend of mine, so I know her for a long time. But I agree with you with Postal. You know, I think Postal, if you would release him right now, I think it nails still the craziness of our politics and the
Yeah.
craziness of the world we're in.
Yeah.
It was maybe almost too early when the movie came out. People were thought, oh, that is so outrageous. And now it's like business as usual, basically, what's happening in Postal in the real world. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree with you. It's also when people ask me, it's my favorite film because it's aging well,
Yeah.
and you know, it's not like, oh, it's just too old now, it's not relevant. The opposite, I think. And it's also um in this political correctness culture we're living now, nobody would produce a film like this anymore. Everybody would be like pissing in their pants, you know, and they would say, oh, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do this. And I loved always films like whatever, Naked Gun and stuff like this.
Yep.
And, you know, and this stuff doesn't get produced anymore. I'm very sad that Seth Rogen is even distancing himself from his old films and you know, Super Bad and whatever.
I love Superbad. Yeah.
Yes, and I twittered back to what when he was twittering it and said no, they aged very well, and without that films you would be nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the reality why he is a star, because he did overdriven, crazy comedies like with Jonah Hill and whatever. And now they're all going in that woke culture craziness where they distance themselves from humor. And I think that the main point of humor is that it has to be offensive for some people, and it
Mm-hmm.
has to be like just right for other people. And humor what tries to be good for everybody and everybody can laugh a little about it is not humor I like.
No, I agree. And I
Yeah.
love it when movies can, take a chance and just you're watching something, you can't believe what you're watching, and something that just is daring. I love movies like that, And Postal certainly did this. And there's a lot of stuff in this movie some people would say is in bad taste, but I'm kind of like, yeah, but you see what it's saying. The opening scene, for example,
Yeah.
where you got the two terrorists in the plane and they've hijacked this plane and people are like knocking on the doors and on the back and they can't get in, and you got this conversation between the two terrorists about they're going to fly the plane into the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
That's a touchy subject, but the important thing here is the conversation. They're doing it because they're promised a bunch of virgins, 100 virgins, and they're having this conversation about it. And then the phone rings, and then suddenly it's the virgins have been reduced, and whoever was telling them this bullshit had them questioning it. And it's like, what do you mean? I thought you said 100 virgins. Now it's only 20
20.
virgins? And then finally they're just like, screw it. We're going to the Bahamas. And then the people burst into the door and they're like trying to say, oh, we're not going to hijack, blah, 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 blah. And the plane goes out of control and you see this guy washing the windows, the World Trade Center, and it comes at it. Bad taste. Some people say, yes, it's a subject, sensitive subject. But mindless? No. And it has everything to do with what these idiots believe is going to happen when they sacrifice themselves in the name of whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
It was when people criticized me. I was in the New Jersey Film Festival with Postal, and
Hmm.
they were like mad. Like some people said that it's unacceptable for the victims, right? And I said not really, because I make fun out of the craziness of the terrorists, of the
Yep.
belief, like the basically the Islamistic radicals. And I said nothing is said about the victims at all, and definitely not nothing negative. And that is the thing. It's, I think you can be offended by everything if you want,
Yep.
turn everything against yourself and say whatever. But I think important is exactly how you said, that there are films that are questioning everything, and with humor and satire you can, that is the difference. And you can of course make that the serious film, and that people think he's dead honest about what he's showing, then it wouldn't work. But it's
Hmm.
so crystal clear overdrive, and that I think it works very well. And that is also why I love stand-up comedians, like whatever Bill Burr or something, who
Oh,
go
love
that
them.
step,
Yes.
yeah, like that step farther. And I hate when people cannot like step away from their comfort zone and just try to be open-minded.
Yep.
I have to say, a lot of humor, a lot of comedies, but a lot of stand-up gigs too, like made my horizon expanding, and make me things about and questioning things than in the real life. And I think that is, it's perfect to do this on what, like, with in a funny attitude, basically, yeah.
And of course, you get a shot right here in the back of the Blu-ray that kind of has a little bit of fact to it, you could say. George W. Bush and
Yeah.
Mr. Bassan, whatever,
Osama.
the asshole, basically, but
Hmm.
prancing off and hand in hand, I
Yeah.
mean, wasn't that what George W. Bush was being criticized for, or at least one of those things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing was also like, when later came out that the only people in the US who were allowed to fly were the bin Ladens flying back to Saudi Arab. Because the parents from Osama bin Laden were very rich builders, like they had real estate projects everywhere, and they did deals with the Bush family. So it's kind of absurdity in reality, that how big is the chance that the biggest terrorist in the world has then basically business connection ties through the parents with the president of the US. And I felt also over all that years of the Afghanistan war, that similar to the Iraq war, it was completely wrong. It was never really. I mean, he was in Pakistan in the end, and not in Afghanistan. But we invaded a country, brought everybody, like, as usual, we say we free everybody, but in reality, as we saw later, nothing really changed. Otherwise, they would defend the country against the Taliban.
Hmm.
So the Taliban could take so easy over. Shows also that the population never really changed. They never really said, we defending now our new freedom we have here, whatever. Instead, the president ran away with a helicopter full of money into the United Arab Emirates, and sits there now with 20 million bucks and is not getting incarcerated for stealing. So that is satire in reality. And I think the best satire films, like Postal, also, they always use exactly this absurdity of the reality and put more on top of it, even. That
Hmm.
it also, they are the best buddies. They call each other, they help each other. And, and I think that was at that point very necessary to show something like this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff in this that reminded me of John Waters.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the stuff in the trailer park reminded me so much of John Waters, and I don't know if that was your intent, but he would probably be right in line with what you were doing here. But But nonetheless, you know, this whole thing, like Zach Ward plays the everyman, the guy who's frustrated with life, frustrated with the uh, job situation, and you know, his wife is cheating on him, and he's just miserable. And I gotta say, Zach Ward was perfect for play this, you know, and um, everybody remembers him as the Christmas Story bully, but here he steps it up. But there's so many things, like, for example, and this is why I question people that criticize you. The scene in the job interview where he's having problems with that chair.
Yeah.
I would never have thought of that, but I thought it was great. You know, and the line of questioning, you know, and
Yeah.
he's trying to keep a straight face. Well, you got this situation going on that nobody seems to be addressing until he finally points it out.
Yeah, yeah. What is wrong with you? No, when the guy asked him, and I mean, it's so obvious that his stool is like completely collapsing, and then he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" You know, I love that thing. And you know, when we did the casting in L.A. and Zach Ward came in, I had no clue who he was, and then he was reading for one of the police officers,
Uh-huh.
and so we looked at a lot of different actors, and then I was sitting there and I couldn't get him out of my mind because he was similar to exactly how we see him in the film later. I felt he's so miserable. You know, he had the feeling he needs the money and wants the fucking job. And I felt like, and he would play not, he would play the terrorist, he would play whatever job I would give him at that point. And I was sitting there with Dan Clark, who's by the way playing in the end the window washer.
Okay.
Yeah, so but he was my line producer. And we were sitting there and we were sitting, and at the end of the day, I said, like, that guy is the Postal dude. Like, that guy is it. He doesn't have to play him. He just has to learn the lines. He will be automatically the right one. And that was good that we found him. And because he has this kind of, in a way, a good heart,
Mm-hmm.
but a fucked up life.
Yep.
And he could, you know, and he could never. And I know people like this in the real, my
Oh
real
yeah.
past, where you have the feeling that guy could have a totally different life, but it was from the beginning on something was not working, and so he's struggling against this horrible surrounding. You know, that his wife turned like that mega fat after, and you see him looking at the photo from the wedding, and then she completely let it go, and all this stuff where you wake up in the morning and just think, fuck, yeah, you know, why I did this. And I think that makes it great. And it's kind of I met him later in Vancouver a few times, and he was
Uh-huh.
also in Blood Rain second movie. But I could never take him serious in any other part. Like when he was in Blood Rain, I could not really. He played Billy the Kid in my Blood Rain too,
Mm-hmm.
and because it was a western. But I couldn't really take it serious because I was only thinking in him. He's the dude. And for example, this is what I don't get. It's like why channels now, like Netflix or whatever, if I would have something to say, I would order a Postal TV show. I would hire Zach Ward, hire me, and let's do like an 8 episode Postal thing. It would be a hit.
Oh, I
People,
love that. I love it.
yeah, you know, and humor is there's not so much good comedies out there. That is the other thing. It's rare that you have good comedies. It's a lot of action films, a lot of drama and love affair stuff, but to have a really like that you can laugh your ass off, that is not the case. It's rarely the case in any channel, and even and you have a lot of this action comedies with Chris Hart now, whatever. You know, they are not like bad, but it's the same thing over again. It's basically a romantic comedy with some gags, with
Mm-hmm.
some jokes, but it's not a comedy. And that is what I loved in more the 80s films, like Something Mad About Mary or whatever, like
Oh
little,
yeah, I love
you
that.
know, yeah, because there was, yes, there was a romantic comedy in it, but not really. It was more about the jokes, and you were not so about can he solve his relationship? Like the audience gave a shit about it, and
Mm.
it was more about what's happening next. And that is the thing what I miss. I miss films like this.
I'm gonna tell you too another scene in this I gotta bring up that again, for anybody criticizing you, stuff like this tells me that they're really overlooking a lot because the scene where we've all been there. I haven't been there in a while, but waiting in line at the job bank, and he gets that little tag out, and he's gotta wait. Wait. Suddenly, these people come in there firing off guns, and all these tags are on the floor, and he's crawling around the floor just to get the closest number. It's like, there's shit going around, chaos going around, people dying, and you're trying to get that closest number so you can just get on with it. And I don't know where this comes from, but I think stuff like that is brilliant.
Especially how the ending then is that the teller, she gave a completely shit about the shootout. It's like it's almost like in the end, like that happens every Friday, and they have bulletproof glass, and then
Mhm.
like too late, and all that stuff, the whole thing with his uncle, with the cult leader, and it's no, I'm so happy about the film still. Um, it's just like it was an amazing experience. Also for the crew, a lot of the crew is still, when I'm in contact with them per email or whatever, say like, "Oh my God, can you do the second part? Can you do something?" And yeah, and that is the thing. It's a problem when a film turns into a real cult film. I
Mhm.
was, for example, in Germany at a fan convention last year, and you can
Mhm.
say more as half of the autographs I gave were for Postal,
Oh,
DVD, whatever. More as half, but I did 34 films. And you would think House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, In the Name of the King, with Jason Statham, big stars in it, bigger films. But in the very end, a Postal survives, and not that films. But the problem is, if something is a slow moving film to a cult film, it's tough to get the financing for a second part, because it's not like you cannot see a big box office or something. And I think for companies like Netflix, whatever, it's sometimes tough for them to decide, has that movie traction? And
mhm.
then what I always say is, go on YouTube and look at all the illegal links from Postal. Look at all the trailers from Postal, or the opening scene in the thing. They're all like little clips. What I didn't post it, what fans posted, but they have in total 20 million views. Like, I mean, there are a lot of traction behind that scenes. People were watching it and saying, "Wow, I cannot believe it. What movie is it?" But it didn't translate it necessarily in sales. It didn't sold. I think In the Name of the King sold to 3 or 4 million DVDs and Blu-rays, and Postal sold like 200,000. So it didn't translate it in big sales. But I think that 200,000 plus the illegal views, plus the later streaming views, like on Amazon Prime and stuff, adding up to the same amount. But it's for them hard to track. So, yeah.
Well, you gotta say hello to me.
I know, very good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I gotta say, you mentioned, of course, Dave Foley. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, that scene again, the timing of this. He's taking a dump. He gets
yeah.
up off the toilet. He doesn't even wipe his big pile of crap puddled down on the bathroom floor.
Yeah, and is totally naked. And
Yeah.
oh god, yeah, I know. And he did the. I didn't tell him to do the nudity. I was expecting he gets up and covers himself up or something, right?
Uh-huh.
And he didn't did it. And I told him, "You're away. You're full frontal naked." And he said, "I don't give a shit." And I said, "Okay, I'll leave it in." Uh, and that was good. I mean, because it brings that kind of like ruthlessness to the whole film. That there are no holdbacks. where you say, oh, you cannot do the joke, or look at Chris Spencer when he shoots the Chinese car driving woman at the corner when
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah, but
And then he gets in the car and said he called me something. And they
yeah,
and that
but a scene like this alone would stop it right there today, right? So they would be like, oh my God, there is everything in that scene what we say racism is or whatever, But at the same time, and I always said, I had the feeling a few times when in Vancouver, there are so many Chinese drivers and they're just so bad that a lot of times I had, I had that feeling like, give me a pump gun. So everything in everything is a little truth. And when you have that roads where you don't have a left lane turn, where you have like, you basically have to wait till the other car's coming by. And then you have that 5 seconds to turn left before the other road, like because before the car's coming at you. You have that in Vancouver a lot. You don't have left turns. You have basically the same lane, what should go straight. And then when you're behind the shitty driver, you will need 5 green phases on the light to get through that corner. And that drives me always insane. Okay, there's a different story.
and of course I gotta bring up too, you mentioned Spencer there. I love the scene where Zach Ward's trying to climb this fence and he can't do it, and he takes his poor goat in the wheelchair. He just kind of moves him over. He steps on top of him. Again, poor taste, sure, but I gotta tell you, the sight joke was freaking funny.
I know. Yeah, it's like basically every single minority get the fist in the face, but also the majority gets the fist in the face. And I think that is important in a satire, that you don't have when I went to screenings of Postal, I always said, like, it's not about nations, races, religion, whatever. Like, everybody will get hurt, but it's about freedom of speech, and it's about freedom of humor also, that you should be able to make jokes about everything without threatening for your life, or threatening for like being scared to get canceled and never get a job again, because then you're already in the ditch. Then the society already went downhill in a way what I at least cannot, let's say, accept. And we had that so much about in the last few years, right? So we had it at the Corona situation, where people got totally into the conspiracies, but at the same time, when they had a good point, they were still like conspiracy theorists, as a like this kind of like if in the beginning, when we all had to disinfect our hands wherever we were going, in the supermarket, whatever, and then when somebody said, I don't think that brings anything. I don't think that you actually stop Corona in having your hands 50 times a day in alcohol. It's more like from the breathing, So,
Mhm.
but nobody could criticize anything, any rule, any sanction, whatever. If you started criticizing it, you were right away a QAnon, Trump supporting conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And I think, and that was pissing me extremely off. And for example, in Germany, I was here in Germany, I released a book with actually a big publisher. And it's, so the title, if I translate the title, is Why Nobody Has the Guts Anymore to Say what is real, what is really happening. And I wrote down here, between cancel culture, political correctness, and the new Feigheit means like that people are cowards in not saying facts anymore because they don't want to get canceled, especially in the media and in the news and so on, And I'm always outspoken And of course, take the Ukraine war now. It's horrible, and it's a crime from Putin. But we still cannot forget that for 15 years, he said, don't take more countries into the NATO. Don't come closer to the Russian borders with the EU and NATO countries. And he warned everybody constantly. And they took Hungary, Czech Republic, Poland, everybody joined the NATO. And they were all like parts of the Eastern Bloc before. And so that is the thing. I think Putin should get removed. I think Ukraine should win the war. But you also cannot just omit the facts that there was a possibility that that war would never happen if the NATO would say, we don't take more countries in now. You know, so, and the Ukraine would be the next country they would took in. I mean, that Putin saw that coming, that within 2 years, the Ukraine would be also part of the NATO. And then he couldn't attack them anymore, because then you would have World War III, basically, you know, and they have a lot of industry, the Russians still in the Ukraine. All the gas pipelines goes through Ukraine to Western Europe. And he has the big harbor, the Crimea, with all his ships and all his submarines is in the middle, is on the coast of the Ukraine. So he had good reasons to be scared if he just let it slide, that he will lose a lot of influence, a lot of money. And because the Ukrainians hate Russia, right? So they would went after this. They would take the Crimea back and so on, as soon they were part of the NATO. And so, but that is only an example. But I think that for me, it's very, very important to not limit a perspective on something. And I see that the mass media is doing that more and more and more. That if you don't say exactly what they want you say, you are a crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you know, with Postal, another scene that so many of us can relate to. I've had Jackie Tone on here, and I love that. First time you see her, she's working at a coffee shop, dealing with somebody who's got about 18 different versions of coffee that he's picking over, and finally she just loses it and says what so many people have wanted to say in the same situation. I've seen this, and it just speaks volumes. And Jackie Tone was great in this, you know. And I'm assuming, yeah.
I'm sure you had a situation like this before. I mean,
Oh
I was
yes.
at Starbucks various times where people were ordering like they couldn't fucking decide. And you are in the line, you just want your cappuccino or something normal. And they were like, I want the frappuccino, but I don't want it with cinnamon. I want it with whatever. And then that extra wishes, you know, and then can you warm up this and whatever. And you stand there and you think, I cannot believe it. I have 8 minutes waiting for one guy who wants to order something. And that is, of course, the reason I wrote the scene. You know, that people, they should really make up their mind. I know I've wrote another scene in a supermarket. You have that also sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're scanning it through, and the guy is standing there. And when it's all through, and she said whatever, 44.50, he's looking for his wallet. You know, then there's the backpack, taking the backpack off, opening the backpack, trying to, you know, and you think, why was that? Like when I'm in line at the supermarket, I have my wallet right there, so you can tap it and go, right? But some people are actually totally, what, I don't know why. Is it on purpose? Is it they want to slow down the day or whatever? But then they're looking for 5 minutes where the wallet is, and then they want to pay cash. And coming in with, okay, 10 cents, 20 cents, how much? You know? Oh, wait 1 second, my doorbell is ringing. I have to open the door. Wait.
Sure, I'll just pause this. There we go. Yeah, speaking of
Yeah.
speaking of packages, that's exactly what goes through Postal all through this movie. I mean, you had the scene, of course, where the cat's ass becomes a gun.
That is like the game. That is
Yep.
in the video game. And I
Mhm.
remember we had to buy, make basically a fake cat where we can
Yep.
put a gun in, and it was expensive actually, but I think it was worth it. I'm so an idiot that I didn't keep the cat. I still don't know where the cat is. I should totally took the prop home. So somebody took it or stole it or whatever. Oh God, now I have to wait. Keep taping. Wait 1 second.
Okay. Folks, we are celebrating the 15th anniversary of Postal. And of course, with Uwe Boll today, you stepped out here for a moment. Yeah, here he is back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, do you have any crotchy dolls?
I have one crotchet doll left. It's in Vancouver in my house. So and also like I think Zach Ward has a crotchet doll. Uh, but I think the Running with Scissors, the company, they sell them. So they have them in their merchandising shop.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Does,
yeah.
Does Jackie Tone have a crotchy doll?
I don't know. I don't know. She was doing a TV series a longer time. No, I think so. I think she would do good, and I really liked her a lot personally. She was so nice.
Mm-hmm.
It never came together like together in another film in a way, but I never lost in a way the contact with her. I still have her email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was happy to get her on here too, and again, Michael Binyet, he was terrific in this, and it's funny seeing him in this, and of course he played one of the two drug addicts, slash rapists in Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
And I reached out to him due to that movie, and when I discovered, because I had Postal, but it never keyed into me that that was the same guy. So I spent a lot of time talking to him about Postal. You know, yep. So
I had him also in my Assault on Wall Street movie.
okay,
He played the doctor for Dominic Purcell's wife there. Yeah.
mm-hmm, yeah, and of course, Lindsay Hollister. She had that one scene in this, and she was great. And of course, she was your lead in Blubberella. And I've had her on here twice. I gotta say, Blubberella is another one of those films, that people could say it's in bad taste, but I'm kind of like, yeah, but number one, the character is freaking cool. I
Yeah.
mean, she basically gives a finger to the Nazis right to their face. She don't care.
No, and I loved her so much on Postal that I felt like I want to do a film with her, but I don't know what basically. So and then I felt let's do a parody on the Blood Rain films with her. And of course, this film is not so good as Postal is, but I
Hmm.
think it has some really funny scenes also, and it's kind of crazy. And so I'm still happy that I did.
And of course, you've worked with Clint Howard a number of times too, and he just gels well in your movies.
Yeah, I mean he's a friend, and I think it was in 6 or 7 Ball movies, and
Hmm.
yeah, but I remember I don't know what I offered him. I think I offered him a part in Postal, and then he couldn't do it. And I think it was too offensive for him. Where he had like his limits. Even if in Barella he played Dr. Mengele and whatever, and he didn't really care. So he had fun with this. But I think on Postal he was a little. I don't know what I offered him, but he was a little offended. But that is how taste goes. I mean, and even if he passed on Postal, I hired him after various times.
And of course, Vern Troyer, rest his soul, he was in this too, and stuck in a suitcase of sorts.
He really was a trooper. He went for it. He every joke he went for it. He gave a shit. He really wanted to do it. I think he had a blast doing it. And I'm so happy because Gary Coleman, what we tried to get him first because
Yep.
he was in the game, and he said he's too religious. He doesn't want to do it.
Oh.
So he had like, and I said, what? where exactly is the anti-religious things here in the in the script. But he said, no, I'm not cursing. I don't want to say fuck or whatever. And then I said, okay, that if you cannot say fuck, I said you're in the wrong film. Like that, I cannot hire you. Sorry. But then we had Von Troyer, and he had with nothing problems. And no, that was fun with him too, totally. And then Ralph Möller, the gladiator guy, played with Chris Spencer, the cop. I think he worked very well in it too. In his underwear when they bang the wife from the Postal dude. So the Michael Paré is in it.
You worked with him a lot, yep.
Like I think 10 films or something, and yeah, I mean he had only a small part, but a good part, I think, as the gangster from New York, basically.
That's another thing too. Spencer as the cop. He's supposed to serve and protect, but he's really an offensive guy. Yes, he shoots the Chinese driver, but he's also got the wheelchair guy in his garage. He covers him up, and he says, he takes him out so he can, panhandle. And this guy, of course, is just out of it. And
Yeah.
he's basically using this poor guy, and he's supposed to be somebody you look up to serve and protect. I like how you address this stuff in a satiric uh, tone in this movie. I don't care what people say. I think Postal is a great movie. People could disagree with me. I think it's a great film. I know what you were doing with it.
Yeah, look, when I posted a few times, I said, when I had that discussions with the video game based crowd and reviewers from the video games, I said, okay, so name me one video game based film what is better as Postal. And then there were actually most of them in a kind of a dead end because they wanted to bash me for House of the Dead or whatever. But on Postal, they even had to admit that it's very accurate to the game, and it's a very good film. And that's the thing. I said, look, you can say Resident Evil was better as Alone in the Dark. You can also say whatever you want. I said, but Postal, name me one video game based film who was really better as Postal. You don't find one. World of Warcraft sucked. Prince of Persia sucked. They were all not really good films, yeah, but Postal is a good film. Even without the video game, Postal would totally stand alone if the game would never was done. So and most of them in a way had to agree. I didn't get a lot of resistance because I think in the scene or under film fans, not a lot of people hate Postal. And a lot of people love Postal, but there are, of course, more the old-fashioned reviewers. They didn't saw it. They didn't saw what Postal was, and they thought it's another Uwe Boll, over-violent. I remember in Germany they wrote it's over-violent, but if you're not getting it, I mean that it's not over. It's a satire. It's not like
Yep.
the Uwe Boll House of the Dead massacre film. It's a totally different film. Yeah, there's a lot of violence in, but in a totally different way. So and that was disappointing for me to see that the normal movie reviewers, the newspaper movie reviewers, were basically bashing the film. It's idiotic.
It's funny because I know you have boxing matches with some of your critics.
Oh, wait 1 second. Somebody tries to call me. I have to tell him I'm in a call.
Sure.
Everything was down there.
Everybody wants to talk to you today. Maybe they're celebrating Postal.
No, but no, that was my business partner where I developed a few projects with, and today now I have to find your video again. Here, wait 1 second. Here you are.
There you go.
Because we got finally Apple TV and also Paramount Plus scheduling a Zoom with us. And there was a lot of work because it was this kind of like very tough to find even out who's in charge from them in Europe to make products or to make films. And now we found them, and then we emailed them, and now they both yesterday and today contacted us, and we will do a Zoom where they will tell us what they want. You know, because
Okay.
I felt it's a better way now to just ask, okay, what you're looking for. Tell me what you're looking for: comedies or TV series, single films. I want to hear what they're looking for, because otherwise it's too easy for them to just pass on everything.
Yeah.
You send something and say, well, right now I had this thing with Disney Plus. It was unbelievable. So I sent them In the Name of the King as a TV series, like a concept for a TV series, In the Name of the King, fantasy, perfect for Disney Plus, right? So, and then I got back that they're right now looking more for contemporary stuff, like stories they have to get told now in the society now. So I emailed the guy back, and I said, but you're working for Disney Plus. I mean, that what you just answered me, I expect from Netflix, right? Or Amazon, but I don't expect that from Disney Plus. I mean, I'm watching Disney Plus. I have kids. Where's the contemporary, like, gangster film? I mean, it's completely opposite. This answer was only to get rid of me.
Yeah.
You know, that was like, we don't want it. But to say we're not looking for this kind of product, it's totally absurd, because they're doing only this kind of product. So but that is a more intern thing about the business. But it's very frustrating a lot that they totally refuse to actually say that is what we want. And then, I mean, you watch stuff, I watch stuff. I'm always scrolling through the new productions, and a lot of times I'm sitting there and I cannot believe what crap gets produced. It's like, sometimes you start watching something, you think like, what? Who gave these guys the money? Why is that on? Like, why is that? And then you have your own good ideas or whatever, and they're like, not this, not this, not this. And it's always so close to get the production offer to do it, but it's then not. In the last second, something happens always, and it's this kind of like frustrating right now, I have to say. Yeah.
Well, I remember your boxing matches, and it's funny because Thursday I leave to go to Toronto for my fourth attendance to Horrorama,
Okay.
and I got the shirt on.
Good already. Okay.
Now, the other day, actually, it was last week, finally, for the first time, I've been at this guy since I met him in 2017. But I had Chris Alexander on here, and yeah, and I brought the boxing match up because he had no chance against you, and I even said to him, I said, I love Postal,
Yeah.
um, and anyway, he had, I guess he had um, was attended your, uh, I guess you met with him and I guess you guys came to a peaceful resolution or something of that matter.
After the fight, yeah. The
Yeah.
day after, I think the day after, we were at the beach, walking my dogs, and he
Mhm.
did a long interview with me. And
Mhm.
since then we are on very good terms. So I mean, I don't think he said very bad things about me to you. So
No, no, he didn't.
yeah. So,
But
and then, yeah.
but I had to bring it up because I was like, when I look up, it's like, is that Chris Alexander? It's Chris Alexander. But I don't know the other people. Um, you won all the fights. Some of them that lost were making excuses, saying they didn't have time to train or this and that. I think you were totally fair with them, to be frank.
Yeah, and everybody, the worst was that the one guy, he tried to say, I promised before not to hit him. And that was a blunt lie, right? So he tried that I look bad in the public. And I said, no, guy, the whole point was to hit you. I mean, you know, when I said everybody who bashed me, who wants to box me, I will bash you, and that was the whole game plan and the advertising about it. They also had like 6 weeks to train, but of course they were there for the free trip. They saw it. They had a free trip to Vancouver, visit the film set. Boll pays it all. What we did, you know, and we said so. But of course, there was a real crowd. There was like over 1,000 or 2,000 people. They wanted to see blood. Basically, they wanted to see a fight, and so it was clear that it's real. And yeah, but I mean, the Chance Minter. I later did even a short film with one of the guys, and Jeff Schneider. He worked. I think is he working still for Variety? I don't know, but he works for Variety, and so I think it was a good public stunt. And then of course I got like one invite after the other for boxing matches, and I said, no guys, I wanted to do this once to make a point, and not like I get the invitation to the next festival, but only if I do a boxing fight. And I said that limits also the impact of my films. I said I cannot make a film like Rampage or Darfur or Assault on Wall Street, like serious subject matters, and I'm a joke at a festival bouncing around in a ring, only because I did that one time in Vancouver. So a lot of things then I canceled and said I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. I was telling Chris Alexandra, and I even told James Ponce from Frightmare in the Falls. I said, yeah, you guys should bring Uwe Boll in. You know, at the time I didn't know you were, you know, I thought you were still in Germany, but I said you should bring in Uwe Boll because I guarantee you there'd be people that would show up to see him. You know.
Yeah. No, that
How?
was in Germany when I went last year to that convention.
Mm-hmm.
I had most of the, I would say I was in the top
Mm-hmm. Ah, you froze.
3 when it came to yeah. I froze my
Yep.
picture.
No, but yeah. Okay. Top three. You said you were in the top three.
Yeah, I was like in the top 3 of that convention in regards of how many fans came and how many you know, like, and they did an extra thing in the screening room where I showed a trailer and asked question like Q&A with the audience
Mm-hmm.
basically. And then we did a lot of like that. Of course they have to make money, so they did a lot of the photos with me, and the people had to pay for the photos or pay for the autographs, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so that they could recoup the money to inviting me, basically. Yeah, so for the travel and so on. So I'm not a big fan of that convention. I'm not going nonstop to conventions, but to do it like once a year is nice,
Mm-hmm.
because then it's like this kind of, you get a direct feedback, and you see also, as I said, you see what DVDs are really still hot, what DVDs or what films fans still talk about, and it's a very nice feedback you get from the people directly in front of you. Totally.
So Postal's your most common one at the convention. What would you say your next two are?
Rampage.
Mm-hmm.
Rampage 1 is turned also into kind of a cult film.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it's tough to say. There is no real number 3, I have to say.
Okay.
Like where you say, like I think Postal and Rampage are almost doing 80% of the DVDs in regards of what you have to sign. In
Yep.
Germany, they did a lot with, there is a black box, a Rampage black box with all 3 Rampage films, and it's like uncut and stuff. So Rampage sold, I think, more DVDs here as Postal,
Mm-hmm.
based on there was just more versions of it,
Yeah.
individual 3-pack, whatever, media book. And yeah, but no, it's really like some come with Blood Rain or this kind of films to sign, but not a lot. But it has to do, of course, also to do with the convention. If you're in a convention where you have mostly genre fans, mostly like, horror and more edgy fans going to these conventions. For me, it's clear that there are not a lot of people come with a Southern Wall Street, Final Storm, or this kind of, or Darfur with like a drama. It's clear they're coming with the more edgy stuff. And I think the violent wise, Rampage was the harshest thing I did.
Mhm.
And the comedy of Postal is just unseen in a way. Like people, there is no way not to talk about it. I give you an example. This book is released in the Munich, uh, the South German, the name is South German Distribution Company, whatever. But they're big. They are like, it would be like you have a big publisher in New York. It's a big thing. And the boss of that whole company, when I had him on the phone, he said, write that book for us. And I said, why? And he said, I love Postal. He said, I want a book where you write like Postal, like where you basically um, have that ruthlessness of Postal about the political landscape, what's happening right now on the planet. And that is then what I did. And I was very surprised that the editor of the whole thing, like the managing director with like 400 employees, is a Postal fan. You normally think he would say, oh my God, I don't want to have anything to do with humor like this, but it was the opposite. And that showed to me also that our generation, we are now a little older, right? But we
Mhm.
are basically way more open as the young generation for edgy stuff. And he was basically maybe climbing up the ladder the last 20 years, but he kept his humor, and I was in a way honored from it, because I said, look, how is that possible that you are a Postal fan? Yeah, so they did the Elon Musk biography, the Jeff Bezos biography. There's a book thing like this, like you're in where they're releasing totally sophisticated high-end books. And he loved Postal, and he said, no, I love it because it is everything what is lost now I saw in Postal. And he saw it similar to me. Yeah. But
Absolutely.
I have to basically, you have a few more questions because I have to leave, basically. I
You
have
know what? I just wanted you to be able to plug what you're doing now because I noticed that you're getting back into filmmaking, and I applaud you for that. Don't let the critics drag you down. I applaud that. Any chance we get a sequel to this?
I organize a crowdfunding and I'm doing. No,
Oh,
we
those are so hard to do, huh?
I don't want to do crowdfunding also. It's
Yeah.
scheiße. But no, but I'm don't give up on it. I've wrote a lot of like ideas for Postal too. I'm also in contact to Zach Ward. And
Mhm.
what I need is now, what I'm working on is doing something with a big star, or like a big name,
Mhm.
that I get into like that movie. I deliver to whoever wants it, like if it's Netflix or Amazon or Apple, and
Mhm.
then maybe it's doing well for them. And then I will come with my Postal TV show idea, that there's the option, the second part, or the option to do a TV show out of it, because it would play well as a TV show. And
Mhm.
a lot of the survivors, there are not so many survivors of the film, but, but we can bring definitely Jackie Tone back, and the Postal and Zach Ward, and a few of the other people who survived it. We can maybe bring back, and then go from there. I would love it because so much shit happened in the last 15 years. We have Trump.
Oh, yeah.
It's just an insane world we're living in now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Before I let you go, of course, I celebrating the 15th anniversary of this film. I think it's a terrific film. Um, so I'm going to let you go here for a moment, but before I do, I would love if you would do a plug for my show.
Yeah. So what should I say? Like,
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
hey, here's Uwe Boll, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise. Don't miss that episode. It's very important.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm glad that we've kept in touch, and I'm glad you're still striving and still succeeding. So it's been wonderful having you on here a third time, and keep doing what you're doing. I think you got talent, regardless what people say.
We stay in contact. Okay.
Absolutely. God bless you, man.
Bye. Thank you so much.
No
Bye.
problem. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.